Here we go again. With you wherever you are, welcome to LFR Season Preview. Hey, you smell that? Something in the air. It's that. Oh, it's that I haven't watched this in a long time. Oh, it's hockey! Hockey is back. NHL teams are back. Everyone's at training camps this week, and that includes the Leafs. There's been lots of stories, some little, some a little bigger, percolating, building, lots of questions around this team. Did they do the big thing? That depends on what you think the big thing is. Well, the real answer is no. The big thing would have been moving off of anyone in the core four. They moved off of John Tavares being the captain. They did not move off of his contract, for example. But there's a new head coach in town in Craig Berube. A couple guys on PTOs as tryouts. One of them is apparently not even really a PTO. Another guy is a brother of a star on the Leafs, and he's on an AHL contract and turned down NHL contracts to be here. There's Nick Robertson and everything that comes with. The new faces, the old faces, they finally hit the ice today in groups, in lines, so let's overanalyze them. LFR Leaf Season Preview coming at you after this. From the meal planning to the grocery store shopping, dinner time can be stressful, and HelloFresh gets it. They make it easy by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and easy step-by-step recipes each week, right to your door. Recipes include produce sourced directly from Canadian farmers, picked at peak ripeness to go from the farm to your table in less than a week, which means HelloFresh's menu always features the season's freshest flavors. HelloFresh makes it easy to create restaurant-quality meals at home without having to deal with high restaurant prices. And their new 15-minute meals get dinner on the table faster than delivery would. With a changing menu of over 100 meal combinations to choose from each week, having HelloFresh means you'll always find something that the whole family will love. Dude, even I can do it. I was at the SDPN offices and used our kitchen to make a crispy shallot top chicken recipe. It was delicious. Look at this. Look at me. Look at me. I'm a chef. I'm a chef! It's not like we do a ton of cooking at the office either, so I was able to make it with limited resources because HelloFresh provided what we needed. Look at it. Look at this. Add a little bit of this. Mash the potatoes. Really simple, doesn't take very long. A little bit of gravy on there. Gravy makes everything better. It looks good. Oh, wait, no. Can't forget about the crispy shallot. Let the crispy shallots rain down. As a guy who yells and screams for a living, you can tell this was screaming with flavor. Look at this. HelloFresh makes anyone a chef. Get up to 20 meals for free and free shipping on your first order at HelloFresh.ca with code DANGLE20. Offer is across 6 boxes for new subscribers only. That's 20 free meals at HelloFresh.ca with code DANGLE20. Link in the description below. I'm a chef! Now let me cook. All right, here's what we got. Several reporters were at the Leafs skates today. Austin Matthews was leading the stretches on account of he's the captain. That's news. I don't know why that's such a big deal, but it is. Not that he's the captain, that he was leading the stretches. It matters. When you're the captain, you get to control the thermostat and you do the stretches. Now, the Leafs skated in 2 groups today, and obviously, because the ice surface is only so big, they have more than 2 full teams worth of guys at this camp, and there were a couple guys missing as well. But I took a look at the lines that they had in camp, the defense pairings that they had in this opening skate, and from that you can extrapolate what the Leafs are looking at right now. This is not necessarily how the team is going to go into the season. In fact, I would be surprised for a variety of reasons. Guys kick other guys out of spots, guys get hurt, guys get sick, etc. In one case, a guy had a baby. But boy, the list of guys who is going to make this team is clear as mud. We'll start with the easy one. The top line looks like it's going to be Matthew Knies getting a golden opportunity to play with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. It's funny, all season long, we did not make a big enough deal out of the fact that Tyler Bertuzzi was leaving. Well, of course, Bertuzzi performed well. He played with Austin Matthews. He did not perform well for like the first 2 or 3 months. Also, not everybody the Leafs have put with Austin Matthews or their star players, the other guys, has succeeded. Austin Matthews played playoff games on a line with Andreas Johnsson and Kasperi Kapanen. A bunch of you watching this groaned. That's actually one of the better ones. Nick Ritchie got a chance there. Didn't work. Jimmy Vesey got a chance in the top 6. Didn't work. Worked elsewhere. Didn't work here. That Bertuzzi-Matthews-Domi line at the end of the season, oh, did they make Magic. Now, obviously, that had to get split up in the playoffs for a variety of reasons, but for a time, they were really, really good. Max Domi is still here. They have the option to go back to him being on the right side of Matthews. They don't have the option of going back to Bertuzzi. He's gone. So someone has to step up big, and why not one of their better playoff performers in Matthew Knies? So once again, that is Knies with Matthews and Marner. That's looking like it's going to be the top line. Marner obviously reunited with Matthews. It's a big deal. Now, what you consider to be the second or third line is up to you. Let's make the second line whatever line Nylander is on, which means Nylander is in the center of the second line, Max Domi on the left, Calle Järnkrok on the right. Now, all summer long with the Nick Robertson holdout and everything, we were talking about how the Leafs were so weak on the left side. And I think it's just, we were literally just looking at daily face-off. The truth is, the Leafs are actually kind of weak on both wings. But I think a lot of us and a lot of websites had Max Domi as a center. Well, to start training camp, he's not. Oh, well, he was pretty good on the wing last year. He was pretty good on the right wing. I couldn't even tell you how many games at left wing Max Domi played last year. Calle Järnkrok's another guy who, yeah, he can play right wing, he can play center too. I think he plays his best hockey, or at least has played his best hockey, on the Leafs, on the left wing. So the main thing I would change about that line is I would switch Domi and Järnkrok. This is the line that got the most lukewarm reception online I saw. People are excited to see Nylander at center. More on that in a second. But there's Max Domi way up in the lineup. Oh boy, he makes some questionable defensive decisions, and he's not playing with a Selke candidate anymore. He's playing with a forward who's prone to defensive gaffes himself and the occasional benching, who's not even a full-time center in the NHL yet. Oh, and then there's Calle Järnkrok, who's like the designated babysitter, sort of. But that's not enough. No offense, I like him as a player. I like him more than most Leaf fans by the sounds of it. That's not a good enough babysitter. That line, I think, is the one most likely to change. Well, yeah, Steve, Nylander's not going to be center. We talked about this at length on the Steve Dangle podcast. Like, dude, Nylander has been tried at center so many times, but has he really? Every time the Leafs have tried him there, it was so half-hearted and crap, and Sheldon Keefe did it in an elimination game for some reason. So, like, yeah, they've tried Nylander there, but every time they did, it was dumb and it sucked. Does that make sense? This year, it seems like it'll be less dumb and less suck. Nylander might have had the spiciest quote of the day. Mark Masters quoting William Nylander. William Nylander on starting at center again. I'm excited. I told Chief, that's Craig Berube, that the most important thing is I can't just play one game if you want to try center. We agree on that. Why was the experiment so short last year? I don't know. You'll have to ask my old coach. Smile. Listen, I know it's Toronto and we make a mountain out of a molehill with everything. That shot's fired. Listen, I'm not saying William Nylander hates Sheldon Keefe or he's saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying they definitely didn't see eye to eye on that topic. One of the biggest mistakes I think the Leafs organization has made in the Matthews era is they did not take the time to develop one of Nylander or Marner at center. Now, Marner at center has been picking up a little bit more steam recently. We talked about it on the podcast. Then Andrew Brewer wrote about it on sportsnet.ca, and he was a former Leafs coach, so put some weight into that. But at the end of the day, William Nylander did play a significant amount of center professionally for the Toronto Maple Leafs under Sheldon Keefe in the minors. See? Right now you're like, no, he didn't. Yeah, he did. He did in the AHL, and he was notoriously kind of scolded for his defense, which fair enough. And then he gets called up into the NHL, and he's barely ever played at the position ever again. And now, with Tavares getting a little older, there's this hole there. Dude, even if you think Tavares still has it, I think he's going to score over 30 goals. I think he's going to surprise people this year. Is he going to resign? When he does resign, he's going to be mid-30s. Is he a second-line center in the NHL? Is he a good one? Or how about this? Is he the best you can do? What if the way this ends up is Willie in the middle, Johnny on his left wing? That seems pretty good to me. One of Marner or Willie has to play center for this team, or at very least has to try, and Willie makes the most sense. That being said, this is also the line that's hardest to see sticking. A line that we could see stick is this one that I think is going to be number 3. Bobby McMann on the left, John Tavares in the middle, Nick Robertson on the right. Man, I think that's funny. This whole Robertson trade request was born out of, I want more opportunity. He starts training camp with John Tavares. But the reason it's extra funny is we spent all summer going, but there's such a hole at left wing. Starts camp on the right. The narrative about the Leafs are weak at left wing was never totally correct. It's they're weak at both wings. Okay, let's say Willie and Tavares are both centers. After Mitch, who is the Leafs' best winger? Some of you might have an answer quick. I think a lot of you are going, The answer's probably Domi. It's probably Domi. A guy who might end up as a center anyway. So after him, it's McMahon. Nice. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, this is a fun line. This is an annoying line to play against. Bobby McMahon is a battering ram, and I was really impressed with how he developed as a two-way presence. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts and all that, but the Leafs really missed him in the Bruins series. He really tied the room together. Assuming he's fully healthy, he should look great on a line with John Tavares, and all three of those guys can rip the puck. Tavares, underrated playmaking ability. Same with Nick Robertson, honestly. McMahon, I literally haven't seen him play enough hockey. Good line. Nick has to be the one to stay there. McMahon is most likely to stay with Tavares. I think as long as he's healthy and looks good, he'll stick there. Robertson is the one with something to prove here. Really under the radar, but I think someone who is looking around at all the guys who have jerseys matching him and was probably in the best mood, Steven Lorentz. The dude is, well, a Stanley Cup champion with the Florida Panthers. I really liked him in the playoffs, but this guy is at Leafs training camp on a PTO. This is a team that is right up against the salary cap, probably already has too many bodies. He's here on a PTO, and he's playing with two guys who were regular Leafs. Like, Max Pacioretty is here on a PTO. It's rumored that, he's just got a deal done, and we got to sign it, and we'll figure it out later. He ain't playing with two regular Leafs right now. It's Steven Lorentz. Lorentz is on a line with David Kampf in the middle and Ryan Reeves on the right. That is an NHL fourth line. That is a reasonable NHL fourth line. That is 2/3 of the Leafs fourth line from last year. And Steven Lorentz, who is on the Panthers fourth line. That is a big fourth line. That is a mean fourth line. That is a decently defensively responsible fourth line. If the Leafs were to, I know, Ryan Reeves, shut up. If the Leafs were to sign Steven Lorentz, him and David Kampf could be paired together on the penalty kill. Some guys got some bad news today at camp when they saw where they ended up. Some guys got some pretty good news. If I'm Steven Lorentz, that's good news. Now we really get into the weeds here. The line that I'm going to call, quote-unquote, the fifth line, just based on how things are lining up, Max Pacioretty on the left wing of Pontus Holmberg, who the Leafs have in the middle, and Nikita Grabenkin on the right wing. It's spelled Grabenkin. I've heard Grabonkin. We'll find out soon. So anyway, Nikita, he's really good. Some of you might be like, who is that? Leafs didn't have very many picks at the draft in Montreal. That was only a few years ago, but he was one of them in the 5th round, and he's turned into a really good player in the KHL. Here he is in North America. This guy's got a good chance at being a regular Leaf. Maybe not necessarily this year, but he could be. And I think playing with two bona fide NHL players, Pontus Holmberg, bona fide NHL players, that bodes well for him. Easton Cowan's not even on a line that good, and we'll get to him. There's a lot to unpack here. This definitely strikes me as a placeholder line, and these lines, Craig Berube is under no obligation to stick to any of these. He's the head coach. He can change whatever he wants, and it's the preseason. It's not even the preseason yet. They have not played a preseason game. These are skates. So if you look at that fourth line with Lorentz and Kampf and Reeves and you go, that's too meathead for my liking. This is like an alternative fourth line that instead of being a checking line is a scoring line. Realistically, I don't think Max Pacioretty signed here, and I don't think the Leafs signed him to play him on the fourth line. Holmberg at center is very interesting because honestly, there's opportunity there too. Outside of the top guys up front, it's bare. Also, keeping in mind that Connor Dewar is missing from this whole equation because he's recovering from his surgery. Who knows, maybe he'd be in the middle there. But it's very interesting to me that Holmberg is starting at center. It's less interesting to me that Pacioretty is there. I think he's going to slot in top 9, maybe even top 6. Grabenkin. Watch for Grabenkin. A lot of Leaf fans haven't really seen him yet. You're going to see him now. Now we start getting into guys who, not even all of them are on NHL deals. But you could call this the something to prove line. Easton Cowan on the left wing, Jacob Keehan at center, and Alex Nylander, brother of William, on the right. Now, Alex Nylander is not even on an NHL deal. I thought it was very interesting, though, that today, even though he's on an AHL deal, he was asked about it, and he talked about turning down NHL offers to be here. He wants to impress the Leafs and make the Leafs. He wants to earn an NHL contract, specifically with the Leafs. If he wanted to just be in the NHL, he could have done that somewhere else. There are dumber ideas, dude. Like, he gets to play in Toronto with his brother, which I assume he likes, and also the Leafs on the wings are not that good. Alex Nylander was the 8th overall pick in 2016, 7 picks behind Austin Matthews. Now look, if he's the guy who got 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in 14 career games as a Pittsburgh Penguin, he's not going to make the team. If he's the guy who scored 11 goals and 4 assists for 15 points in 23 games with Columbus last year, he will make the team. And Kean, I'm going to say Kean. He's on an NHL contract. So is Easton Cowan. Cowan they can send back to junior. This line has to stand out. This line needs to be the one that, whether it's game 1 or game 2, whatever it is in the preseason, you're not watching for them. Right? Sickos might be watching for them. You know what I mean? The people who are really into it. But the casual viewer is like, let me see Austin Matthews turn a puck into a bullet. Every year in the preseason, someone catches your eye and you're like, who's this? If this line has the puck more than they don't, if they start controlling possession, controlling play, maybe even throwing a couple on the board, all of a sudden, you not only get Leafs Nation's attention, more importantly, you get your coach's attention. Down the line, Roni Hirvonen, Logan Shaw, Nick Abruzzese. Honestly, that's probably just the Toronto Marlies' first line, maybe second. It's good for all those players because they'll be an early call-up. Clifford, Paré, Steves, that rounds it out. That's probably another Marlies line. Steves, I like that player. I really do. It just doesn't seem like he's currently knocking at the door. He's got to have a really good camp to get back on this radar. The good news is, hey, new head coach in town. You score, you're in. On defense, Morgan Rielly lining up with Chris Tanev. Okay. We all assumed that's what was going to happen, but we didn't know. They could have split them up, but it looks like they're going to be together. That is already, automatically, before game 1 even begins, the best right-handed defenseman the Leafs have had in, honestly, over 20 years, and the best right-handed defense partner Morgan Rielly has ever had in his NHL career. Probably just the best defense partner he's had in his career, period. Second pair, Jake McCabe, who played a bunch on the right last year. He goes back to the left. Oliver Ekman-Larsson appears to be on the right side of him. Really curious to see, A, how that works, but B, which Oliver Ekman-Larsson shows up. I mean, Arizona Ekman-Larsson is out of the question because that was several injuries ago. Vancouver Ekman-Larsson, no, I don't want that. No one wants that. Ekman-Larsson, who was quarterbacking the top power play of the Stanley Cup champions during the Stanley Cup final and put up over 30 points last year, yeah, no, that guy's cool. He can stay. After that, it's a big bunch of muck because 2 really important guys were missing. Yanni Hakanpää, he's not ready to play yet. And Simone Benoit, he was away because he's a dad now. So the third pairing is Cade Weber with Timothy Liljegren. It's difficult to read into that too much. Hey, Cade Weber being there, does that mean he's knocking at the door, or is he literally just a placeholder? I did think it was interesting that they put Philippe Myers with Dakota Mermis, 2 names who you're probably like, who? Both of those guys were depth defensive signings that the Leafs made real early in the offseason. Honestly, it's not impossible those guys make the team as spares. Probably unlikely, but not impossible. If they both get sent down and no one claims them, could be the Marlies' top pair. Unless Marshall Rafai and William Villeneuve, they're together. They could be the Marlies' top pair, or at very least in the top 4. That is, unless Mikko Kokkonen, who Sheldon Keefe seemed to really like, and Topi Niemela, who had a pretty good prospect little run against the Montreal Canadiens. The Marlies' decor's looking pretty good. I'd trust those guys to call up, to play in a pinch. Then there's Petronero and Mottinen. Mottinen has to get reacclimated to North American hockey. He's a fun story. The Leafs drafted him years ago. They let his rights go. Then he goes to Europe, and Brad Treliving says, hey, you're actually pretty good. Can you come back? And he says, sure, so he signs. Petronero, he's on an AHL deal. This one's depressing. Noah Chadwick, he is a WHL player, a real late draft pick for the Leafs. He's doing great. Like, he's putting up unreal offensive numbers, and he's like 6'7". Lots to like. We like that. Is he going to make the Leafs? No. God, no. Not at a camp. Not this year. No. But that's okay. That's exciting. Who's he paired with? Connor Timmins. He's very gone. Like, I feel bad. I keep talking about Connor Timmins being gone like it's a foregone conclusion, but it is. He makes $1.1 million. Like, at minimum, they're going to waive him. Maybe they try to do right by him and find a trade. I think they're going to waive him. I do think he gets claimed. Like, I don't think that's a terrible player. I just don't think the Leafs can afford him at $1.1 million. And I don't think he's in their top 6, 7, maybe even 8. And the goalies are the goalies. The news is that they're there, right? Most teams, a lot of teams in the NHL don't have that luxury. You get a team like Detroit, who's like, who the hell invited all these guys? But other than that, like, Vancouver's looking pretty sparse. Like, there's a bunch of situations around the NHL. The Islanders, it's like, who's going to stop pucks for us this year? Who's going to play net? Nope, the Leafs got Joseph Woll there. They got Anthony Stolarz. Matt Murray is there. And Dennis Hildeby is there. That is your 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. So, first impressions are everything, and yesterday the Leafs made theirs. What was your first impression of this Leafs lineup? What do you think about Matthews and Marner being back together? What do you think about Matthew Nyes earning that Bertuzzi spot? Is Nylander at center gonna work? And how long are the Leafs willing to wait for it to work? And are Domi and Yarncrow going to be his line mates? Is Nick Robertson or Bobby McMahon going to stick with John Tavares? How do both Steven Lorentz and Max Pacioretty earn contracts here? How on earth does Easton Cowan make this team? Why did Fraser Minton have to get hurt? Is it possible the Leafs LTIR some guys and do a little shenanigans? Day 1 brought lots of questions. Now we start to answer them. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. I got this on the SDPN shop. Like, I didn't just put a sticker on it. It's my new notebook.